guys, welcome back for episode number 5. I had just started recording 35. I had just started recording and then I realized I didn't have my mic plugged in, so I have to start again. But anyway, I apologize for the air conditioner. It is that time of the year where it is hot. It went from like flip-flopping between spring and winter to just completely jumping over spring then and going straight into summer. So yeah, I would melt if I didn't have the air conditioner on because of the lights on me. So I apologize for that. But yeah, I am excited to talk about the first game. So I'm just going to show you the top part of the box because, well, as I said, I had started recording and then I realized I didn't have my mic. Okay, well, here's the bottom part of the box. So this is Moon. So this is hitting Kickstarter in July. So this is from Sinister Fish Games. And if you know Håkan Garter, his previous games all came in a box like this as well. The same size and shape and everything. And I really like his games. So Streets is like one of my favorite tile placement games. So this game is designed by Håkan Garter, and I didn't realize this, but the artist is also Håkan Garter. So he actually did the artwork, which I think is so cool because I absolutely love the artwork in this game. And of course the publisher is Sinister Fish Games, and it's for 1 to 5 players. And it is hitting Kickstarter sometime in July. So I played this at 3 players. I'm hoping to try it out solo and at 2 players at some point, and at a higher player count if I can as well. So in this game, you are basically settling the moon and you are trying to attract the most like visitors or have the most popularity with humans on Earth. So each player is going to start with a base card, and each base will have a resource that it provides you during production, and then it also gives you a starting flag. There are different kinds of flags in this game which will kind of give you like set collection points and maybe some ongoing abilities depending on how many flags you have of different types and such. So there are 3 eras in this game, and so it takes place over 3 eras, and I cannot remember how many cards you start with in your hand in a 3-player game, but you're going to be dealt out a bunch of these era 1 structure cards, and structure cards, you know, will consist of other blue cards which will provide you resources. It'll consist of like gray cards which will give you like end of game scoring bonuses. It'll provide you with pink cards which you can flip over once per era in order to get like a special ability, and it'll give you these special cards which are red that you can also use. So there's different kinds of cards, and you're going to have a starting hand plus an expedition card, and there are going to be different expedition cards for each era. So there's going to be 1 expedition card which remains the same throughout the entirety of the game, which will not get changed out, and that is going to be the first expedition card, and that is how you will tell who is the first player in each round within an era. So you are going to have multiple rounds. So basically you're going to have a hand of structure cards plus your own era card. Like let's suppose it's this one. So I would be going first then in this case, and I would decide what I want to do. So you can either construct, and some of these cards will have a cost requirement, which is seen up here, and some of them will also have a flag requirement which you'll need in your base in order to construct it. So when you construct, I'll throw up an image, but you're basically going to stack these cards up on top of each other if they're blue or yellow, and then all the pink, the gray, and the red cards will go to the side of your base. So you can either construct or you can assimilate, meaning you can take a card from your hand and discard it for its discard value, which is shown here. So you will get to take that resource and add it to your collection. So of course you need different resources in order to like construct different cards and do different things throughout the game. And then after everyone has taken a turn in that round, then you'll pass your entire hand, including the expedition card, to the player to your left. Now these expedition cards will give you special abilities which you can use on your turn. So on your turn you can play a card, so you can construct a card. You can either construct a card or assimilate a card. In addition to that, you can always take your first, your expedition ability, so you can use that if you're able to. And in addition to that, you will have these rovers. So everyone starts the game with 2 rovers, I believe it is. And if you need a resource, you can, oh, I skipped a phase. I'll have to go back to that in a minute, but it's not a big deal. So if you need a resource and you don't have that resource, what you can do is place a rover on someone else's card in order to either get that flag requirement or get that resource. So let's suppose someone else had these cards in their base, and I really, oh, not that one. Oh, that one will be a little bit hard to explain. Let's say, come on, give me a good one. Let me find a blue one here. Okay, yeah. Let's suppose someone had these cards in their settlement. I could, if I needed water, I could put a rover on that person's card in order to then collect a water immediately to then use on my turn, or I could put it on their flag in order to then use their flag and pretend I have that flag to fulfill a requirement in order to, then build or do whatever. So everyone starts the game with some rovers. However, at the end of the era, any rovers that visited your settlement, you'll get to keep. So that will help you to accumulate rovers, which are going to be tiebreakers for flag majorities. So there are going to be, oh God, I've made a bit of a mess here. Let me find them. So there are these flag majority cards, which are out. Where are they? Let's see. Here we go. So you're going to have these cards out at the beginning. You're putting these out in the beginning during setup, and there's going to be a certain number of hearts placed below each flag. You are trying to get the most hearts, which represents like popularity or whatever amongst, the humans, the earthlings, and whoever has the most hearts at the end of the game will win. So in Era 1, you are going to be putting out 3 hearts underneath each flag, and in Era 2, it'll be 4, and in Era 3, it'll be 5. Whoever has the flag majority in their settlement will get to collect those hearts. If there's a tie, then you will see who has the most rovers. So that's why rovers can be important. So you're trying to get like different flags into your settlement. There's different reputation cards. So here are some reputation cards. So there's going to be 3 of each kind. So again, there's going to be a lot of variability because there are more cards than you'll be putting out in each game. So you're going to be putting out 3 bronze, 3 silver, and 3 gold, gold being the hardest to earn. So like, for example, one of these cards says, I believe some of them had flag requirements. Let me find it. I don't know where the flag requirement one is now, but there was a flag requirement one, like, oh, if you have this number of flag, oh, here it is. So this one says have 1 or more of all 5 flag types. So if someone met this, they could immediately claim it. So you have to claim it on your turn. If you did not claim it on your turn, then too bad. You can't backtrack and be like, oh, because everyone should have the opportunity to claim it on their turn. And once someone claims it, you cannot claim it. So that's why, it's really important you remember these reputation cards and, continuously look at them throughout the game to see if you want to claim one. And again, there's a lot of variety in these, and some of them will provide like an ongoing ability. I think like some of them will give you like end of game points. So let me see if I can find some examples. So I know that someone had one which gave him, an opponent of mine had a really good one, with an ongoing ability. So like here's an ongoing ability one, for example. So in order to claim this one, you would have structures of all 4 colors, blue, yellow, pink, and gray, not including base. Ongoing ability. At the beginning of each scoring phase, score X for each set of structures of all 4 colors, not including base. So these cards are really great. Like you can really create an engine going, and that's exactly what one of our opponents did. He created a really good engine and scored mega points. So the ending scores were like 100 something, then me with like 70 something, and then the other person with like 60 something, I think. So, so me and the other person were kind of close in scores, but the other person, the one who won, was really far ahead of us because he like created such a good engine with his cards where he was like just able to do so much because of, claiming some reputation cards early on. So I think that was really important for him. So on your turn, so before the beginning of each era, you have your production phase where you will collect all the resources that are indicated on your blue, your blue cards. And you do have a production phase at the beginning of Era 1 as well. You do start the game with some resources, not a lot, but some. And also when you construct, you get to take the resource of the card that you just constructed, which is very helpful. So like, let's suppose I constructed a potato cart, then I would get to take X number of hearts. And X number of hearts has to do with the card I showed you here. So at the beginning of the game, there's going to be 3 hearts here, and so X will be 3. In Era 2, it'll be 2. 2, and then in era 3 it'll be 1. So there's like some, you know, so you can look at that to see what X is in the era that you are in. So yeah, so you have production at the beginning of each era, and then you go around and around, just, you know, picking a card, doing something, and then passing it. You know, you can send out a rover, you can claim a reputation card, or you can, you know, and you'll be able to construct and assimilate and use your special expedition card, and then you pass your entire hand, including the expedition card. And of course, the era ends after everyone has no more cards left in their hand except the expedition card. And that one expedition card being different is what helps you keep track of who's going first in that round within that era. It's a really good game. I really loved it. And I know that the people I played with really liked it. One really liked it and one absolutely loved it. And I really loved it. So I love Hakan's designs just because I think that they're very easy to learn, but you can, like, there's more depth to them than, you know, the rule set would indicate. So there's more strategy to them than you would think, and you can really start to see that strategy as you're playing and, you know, trying to figure out what you're going to do. Like, I honestly thought I was going to win. I didn't realize that my friend over there had a really good engine going, and I guess I wasn't paying too much attention to his hearts. But I was collecting a lot of food flags, and I had some cards which would allow me to get more hearts for the more food flags I collected, but I do think I should have diversified a bit more in terms of flags that I had. But anyway, it's a super fun game. I would say that by far it is my favorite pick and pass game now. You know, typically I've never been a huge fan of pick and pass games, but I really like this one. There were like a lot of fun moments in it where, you know, you really have to decide what you know, can I, you know, really wait and pass this card and wait until it comes back to me, because it could, you know, be constructed by someone else, or it could be assimilated by someone else, meaning that they will discard it to get the resources, you know. So it has those tough decisions that you need to make as you're playing the game. You know, you run the risk, if you don't build something right now, it might not be there again when it's your turn again. And the expedition cards really add so much more to the game and make it so much more interesting. And again, there's going to be a lot of variability because there's multiple different expedition cards that you can choose for each game. So, you know, there's just so much. And again, the artwork is just so freaking awesome. Yeah, so I absolutely love this game, and I cannot wait to try the solo mode and play it hopefully at 2 players and see how it does at 2 players, and also try it at a higher player count. When I posted photos of this on BGG, people asked me how it compares to the other games of his that I've played, which are Villagers and Streets. I would say it's probably the easiest to learn out of all 3 of them, I would say. In terms of funness, I would say it's the most fun. I really like the player I mean, Streets also had a lot of that. I mean, all his games have player interaction where you can kind of screw over other players and stuff like that. But Streets was my favorite before this one came out, and now it's really hard to say. I feel like this one maybe surpasses Streets by a little bit. It's really hard to say, but yeah, it's really, really good. I really love the theme as well, because I'm, you know, a huge fan of the moon. I really like astronomy and stuff, and I've always been really obsessed with the moon, so it's just really cool to see like the spacey kind of stuff. But yeah, it's a really good game. And, you know, there's different kinds of resources. There's like energy, there's water, there's bio, whatever, and then the hearts you're trying to collect and stuff, and then metal, I believe. Gray was metal. But yeah, it's a super fun game. Like, you know, like I said, you know, there's tough decisions, and then I think, you know, all of us got screwed over at one point or another when we were hoping a card would come back to us, and it just didn't. So yeah, it's really, really fun. As you advance in the eras, the cards start having more and more on them. So let me just show you some Era 3 cards. So like, for example, in Era 3, you'll start to see, like, for example, this one to build requires a lot of resources and 2 different flag types. This one will provide you with 3 resources in production. So if you build it, you'll get those 3. And there are going to be cards which allow you a special ability, for example, to produce the resources from one of your cards. So if you built this in Era 3 and then you had one of those cards that you could use your own card to, again, get those resources, that would be amazing. So there are like a lot of great cards. And these pink cards, as I mentioned, which you can flip over for a once per era special ability, are really good. So like, for example, let me show you one. None of these are really that amazing. Let me see if I can find one. Bum, 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 bum. Yeah, so I think this one means like you can flip it and get as many hearts as you have water tokens. I'm assuming that's what that one means. There are clarifications in the rule book, but the rule book is far away from me right now. So yeah, and then again, the gray ones give you like end of game, like scoring abilities and stuff like that. But yeah, really fun game, and I would highly suggest that you keep an eye out for it on Kickstarter when it launches. Oh, actually, the gray ones can also give you ongoing abilities as well, like this one. Yeah, so this one, I don't exactly know what it means, but some kind of an ongoing ability. So yeah, so that is Moon. So I really enjoyed it. I really. Oh, and also I'll be talking a little bit more about it at the end of this video, because hopefully I'll actually remember this time. But I'm hoping to interview the designer at UKGE, and I will be doing a live playthrough of this game with the designer and the publisher, the guy who owns the publishing company. So that should be fun. So let me just put these away, and then I can go on to the next game. Oh deario, where's reputation cards? I don't know where I put the expedition cards. Okay, well, I'll just move this to the side. Alrighty, so the next game I will talk about, I will be doing a video for, and that is called Monasterium. It actually came out in 2020. But I believe that they are going to have an updated edition coming out with, I don't know if it'll have new artwork or not, but here is Monasterium. And Monasterium is designed by Arve Fuller, and the art is done by Dennis Lohausen, and the publisher is DLP Games. And this, again, came out in 2020. It says it's for 2 to 4 players. This is an interesting dice placement, worker placement, kind of game with some also like you're just also kind of like moving along a board. So you are, I'm just going to read the description and then I'll show you the board and the components and how it plays. So it says, in the early Middle Ages, the peak of ecclesiastical power, no fewer than 5 monasteries were founded in a beautiful valley with the aim of spreading the word of God. As the dean of a cathedral school, you try to accommodate the novices entrusted to you in the monasteries, thus building up in an unmistakable reputation. According to your talents, you send novices to monastery buildings, to the chapel, or to the cloister. The intercession of influential personalities or other monks should not be underestimated. You can also fulfill the special missions of the monasteries and build on the stained glass windows of your cathedral to enhance the fame of your school. After the 3-year novitiate? I've never heard that word. It will become clear who has been able to earn the most fame and glory with their helpers. So you're trying to gain the most reputation. It's an interesting game. If you like Euros, I really think you will enjoy this game. It's kind of got that, I know I'll probably get, maybe a bit of pushback for this, but I think it's got a little bit of a, a dry Euro look to it. The artwork doesn't appeal to me that much, but it was a fun game. It went by too fast. Like I was like, yeah, it was over before we knew it. So here is the board. And there are different monasteries, and you're gonna have a pilgrim, not a pilgrim, is it a pilgrim or something? It's like a cart. I don't remember what it was called exactly. Let me see what they called it in the book. But you will have a little guy who moves along with his donkey. Yeah, I think it's a messenger, that's right. It is a messenger, so I'll show you. So you're gonna have messengers, one messenger and all these novices. Where the heck is the messenger? Here we go. So the messenger will be placed on the starting space of the board. This is going to be, I have to do a 1-minute overview video for this. I hope I can do it. It's going to be a lot. So you are going to have the messenger in the starting space. Where is the starting space? Okay, here is the starting space. And as your messenger goes along, you will have different pathways to monasteries, and you are trying to send out your novices to the various parts of the monasteries. Each player is going to have a player board that looks like this, with this on the other side of it. This part is where you'll be building stained glass windows. So each of these spaces where you see these guys, there will be a novice. And on the top of these, you will have your standard dice actions. So each player has 3 dice of their own color, and then there are neutral dice as well. So at the beginning, so there's 3 years in the game, just 3 years, and within each year, there's going to be as many rounds as there are players. So I played a 2-player game of this. So there were 2 rounds in each year, but multiple turns within a round. So what happens is each player will, so you'll be putting 2 of your personal dice at the end of that road, which I showed you where the messenger starts. And if you reach the end, you can then collect 1 of your dice that you'll be able to use in the future. So you are going to roll the 1 die that you start with of your color, plus all the neutral dice that you start with, depending on player count. And in a 2-player game, that was 5 neutral color dice, these white color dice. So I would roll these, and then I would place these onto the board. So so at the bottom of the board, you're going to see these different locations for dice. So you would take all the dice that were rolled of a certain number and then put them there. So you get to decide. So like, let's suppose I rolled a 1 in the neutral and a 1 in the green. I could take the green one and the neutral one and place it on the 1 spot. And then the other player would roll his dice and do the same. And then I would re-roll these and then again do the same. So if I had 2 4s, I could put the 2 4s in the 4 location. And the different locations allow you to do different things. After you place your dice, that's when you start retrieving dice to take actions on your own board. If you have a personal colored die in a location, I believe the rule is you have to take your personal die. I could be wrong, but I'll have to double check. You can take no more than 3 dice from a location. So, you'll end up having a bunch of dice in one location, maybe because another player could have put a bunch of dice in one location. And you can take the dice that another player put down if they're neutral colored. So that's where the interesting part really comes in, is you're kind of seeing where the other player is putting down all these dice. You're trying to strategically place your colored dice in such a way that you will try to maybe get the neutral ones first, so that, because another player cannot take a dice of your color. So it's really interesting the way you place dice and then you take them back, and the strategy you try to formulate and how you do that. That part was really interesting. So the different actions are, I don't have them filled in right now, but they can be flipped over. But if it's a 1 die, you can send out a novice onto the board into a monastery. The scoring is really interesting. So novices can go into different sections of the monastery. They can go into the building part, the cathedral part, or the cloister part. Novices from the first 2 rows will be going to the building, the 3rd row will go to the cathedral, and the 4th row novices can go to the cloisters. In order to place a novice, your messenger needs to be in front of that monastery, or you already have to have had a novice within a cathedral, not cathedral, why do I keep on calling it cathedral? Chapel. You have to have had a novice within a chapel in a monastery in order to send out a novice there, somewhere else in that monastery. So again, your messenger needs to be in front of the monastery in order for you to send a novice to any part of that monastery. Or if your messenger is not in front of a specific monastery, you need to have a novice within the chapel of the monastery where you want to send an additional novice. You need to pay costs in order to send out these novices, and the costs are indicated here. So it can be different kinds of resources. So there's like soup, there's rosaries, there's tools and books. It can also be these influential people, which you can, collect these tokens. So you need to pay the cost, and then you'll be able to send out a novice. And once you do that, it opens up an additional action space in that round, which is really cool. And each action space can only be used once per era. So, is it once per era or once per turn? Once per turn, I think. It gets a little bit confusing, but yeah. So you'll open up these additional action spaces, which will be more powerful. And if you send out the bottom row novices, that will allow you to flip the tile here, which will give you recurring points in most instances. So let me just show you an example. So like here is the standard actions space for a 1 die. And if you sent out a novice from the bottom row in the 1 column, then you would get to immediately flip this over, and then anytime you used a 1 die, you would now also get to collect a point, a reputation point. It's a really interesting game. There are also windows you're going to be collecting, which will give you additional bonuses. So when you place down a window, and you have to place down different colored windows in each row and column, so you cannot have repeats, and then you'll be able to collect a bonus. So if I put a window here, I could take either this influential person, or I could collect a soup. So yeah, and then if you complete a row, you get the points that are indicated at the end. So 5 points, and again, if you complete a column, you'll get the 4 points. So it's really cool, how there's that part going on as well. The scoring is the interesting part. Like the scoring, I'm really curious how they came up with the scoring, because I don't, quite understand how they came up with it and like what the rationale. I'm sure that, they figured it out. I just couldn't figure out like how they did that, but it was really interesting. So at the end of the game, for final scoring, you do monastery scoring. So you determine who has the most novices in each monastery, and then you will get 5 points per monastery if you have the most novices there, and that includes in all parts of the monastery. So that includes in the buildings, the cloisters, and the chapel. And then you do chapel scoring. So you're going to total the number of different monasteries where you have at least one of your novices in the chapel. Depending on the number of different monasteries a player scores. If it's 1 monastery, 1 point. If it's 2 monasteries, 3 points. If it's 3 monasteries, 6 points, and so on. Then the cloister scoring, you will add up the number of your novices in the cloister and multiply this by the number of your novices in the chapel, and then double that. And that's how many points you get for novices that are in cloisters. And then you finally can get like a minimal amount of points from resources that are left at the very end. So that part is kind of interesting. This game also does have mission cards that you can complete. My gripe with the rulebook was that a lot of these were not explained. So you have 2 of each type for a total of 6. There's A mission cards, B, and then C. And some of these just were not explained in the rulebook, and we just could not figure out what the heck they even meant. Like some of them are, explanatory, but some of them were like, we just don't know. So, like for example, let me see. Like, like this one, like, so does it mean you have to have all window types? Like, it just, and then, it shows different locations here. Like, it just wasn't explained in the rule book. So we just had no clue how to score for the missions. So we actually just ignored those completely when we played the game. So I need to find out from the, the publisher who sent this to me whether there will be clarifications for these mission goal cards, because we definitely needed clarifications on that. I want to read you a review. So after I played this game, I went onto BGG and read a review of this, which I thought was really good, which really encapsulated my feelings about the game as well. I do think it's a really good game, but I just need to, get some clarifications. So this person wrote, my rating of this game has gone up because of the amazing experience it offers in its puzzling. I highly recommend this game for 2 players. There is a certain intimacy to the game's flow that's hard to define, but one I find very appealing. For example, collectively rolling a pool of dice, selecting one number, quasi-Yahtzee style, and then paying close attention to your opponent is delightful. After the dice are set, the action selections begin with deeper decisions like, do I take 2 dice instead of the max 3, so maybe I can get to the valuable bonuses a second time, or is the risk worth it? Careful consideration and evaluation is critical in this aspect of the game. Also of note, pulling a bunch of dice of 6s can slow the game's pacing down and open up new strategies for both players, since you can only take 1 die from the 6 pool. So the 6 are wild. You can only take 1 at a time as opposed to 3, and then that can be used for any action space. Then there is the whole multiple of cogs and wheels dynamic where one thing has an effect on multiple things and thus AP can set in. That is true. And, you know, I find that the game was too short because just when we were getting those cogs and wheels, you know, churning is when the game ended. And I'm like, that's it. So in a 2-player game, I felt like I really would have liked more turns. However, because of the way dice are placed and taken, I'm not sure that you know, a 3 or 4-player game would actually provide me with that many more turns. I'm actually really not sure about that. I find this goes away after the initial play. As for the game's arc, it is dynamic, satisfying one. It is a dynamic, satisfying one where players are jockeying for spots in the monastery, and the mule continues to plug along at the pace you desire. Deciding what novice to send out and where is the heart of the game, because this will focus a player's bonus action towards a certain strategy. I can go on, but you get the idea. This game deserves a lot more attention, not for what it is, but for what it does and how it does it. A cleaning up of the rules in certain areas is needed, but the BGG community and the designer himself has chimed in about this need and has clarified a number of questions. So I should, you know, refer to the questions, but that's the gist of the review, and I think it really, you know, sums up how I feel about this game. And I think if you like Euros, you will definitely like this game. So it is definitely one of the more interesting dice games I've played. I really like how that part of the game works, you know, rolling the dice and then strategizing, you know, which dice to place, how many to place, when to place, you know, where to place your own personal dice. You know, it really makes a difference, and it is so cool how that works out. I'm not sure I've played another game quite like that, so I really like that part of it. So yeah, so if you're into Euros, especially ones which, you know, kind of have that like bland Euro look to it, which in my opinion this kind of does. I think the only thing that really, you know, makes it a bit more interesting are your own personal boards, and the different window tiles are really pretty. So let me just show you some of the window tiles. So yeah, so those can be really pretty, but I actually didn't get to put out too many windows. So yeah, I would recommend checking this out. So yeah, I will be doing a 1-minute video for this game, and I'll update you guys when I know when it's hitting Kickstarter, because I cannot recall at this very moment. I do know that my video is due soon though, so maybe it's this month. So yeah. And the next game I will discuss is one of my favorites from last year, but I finally got to play with my new expansion, and that is Canvas. So let me get Canvas out. I've only ever played Canvas at a higher player count than 2 once. So here is Canvas, and I love how that, you know, I wish I had somewhere where I could put it like front facing like that so that it actually forms that really pretty image. But let me find Canvas on BGG. So Canvas is, oh, well, that's totally the wrong Canvas. That's like something from 2010. Oopsies. All right, well, I'm just pulling up the expansion. Oh, no, never mind. Okay, so this is designed by, so it's a 2021 game for the base game, and it's designed by Jeff Chin and Andrew Nerger, and the art is done by Luan Hyun, and the publisher is Road to Infamy Games. It's for 1 to 5 players. You know, so basically you have just some like objective cards and you're just making paintings. It is so pretty. So we played with the expansion this time, which comes with a board and some additional cards. I didn't really play with I played with some of the additional scoring cards, but I didn't play with whatever these are. So we didn't play with these cards, which I think provide you with some like additional rewards or something in the end. But this card, like both me and my friend who played, and I've always felt this every single time I've played this game, that it just goes by so quickly. Like I just want so many more rounds and I just want to make so many more paintings. But I don't know if you guys have the expansion, but like the cards are double-sided in the expansion, which is so freaking cool. But that can also make it really difficult, like when you're trying to meet like the different scoring objectives and trying to like figure out, because like once you have 5 of these cards in your hand, you have to make a painting, and you're trying to like meet these different objectives, and like for me, that's when AP sets in. Like, this is probably the only game like where I really have AP and I really suck at it. Though this time I only lost by 1 point. Usually I lose very, very badly, but this time I think I lost only by 1 point. But you have like these different objective cards where you're just trying to, let me see if I can find some of them. Nope, those are the background cards. Where are the objective cards? I guess they might be in here. Yeah, like, so for example, like here's one. So like this one says you have to have exactly 3 of those symbols within those colors in your painting. And if your painting accomplishes that, depending on where this is, you're going to collect a ribbon. So you will have this board, which came with the expansion. The original game came with the cloth board, which I did not like. I really prefer this. So you're going to have the various scoring cards put out up here, and you'll have a ribbon color next to it. So when your painting meets a scoring requirement, you just take the ribbon, you know, and then at the end of the game, that's when you count up how many ribbons you have of that color to determine how many points you'll get. So like, let's suppose this was here and I had 3 red ribbons at the end of the game, then I would get 12 points. So, you know, you're trying to get your paintings to satisfy as many of the ribbon, the goals as you can, and the different cards come out here that you're going to be putting into your paintings. And you have these like palette tokens that you can use to skip over cards in order to get ones further down. And then if you collect a card that has these palettes on it, then you'll be able to keep those palettes. But it's really, I just really, really love it because of these amazing cards. I just love making the paintings and then seeing what you've come up with in the end, because it always has like a cool name. Like, just for example, like Marvelous Dive. Like just putting like 3, let me put it in a card so you can see. But yeah, I really like this game. A friend of mine recently said that he thinks it's a good game, not great. Like, it's just missing a little something to just make it great. I don't think it needs to be great though. I think it's super enjoyable. Like, for what it is, I absolutely love it, and I intend to keep it in my collection forever. And this is definitely one of those games where I pull it out even when I'm not playing it, because I just absolutely love looking at these artwork cards. And there are just so many of these. Like, I just don't think you'll ever have the same painting twice anytime you play this game. Like, I just think that would be like near impossible given the amount of cards. Like, these are the expansion ones, and the base game came with like a whole bunch as well. So like, I cannot imagine that you will ever end up creating the same painting twice. And you always layer 3 cards on top of each other. So I mean, it's just beautiful. It's just so freaking beautiful. I just love it so much. So yeah, so that was the other game I played recently. But yeah, I think that is it in terms of games I've played. So I want to go on to, there's nothing to discuss in terms of games I'm backing, because there's nothing that's been added there. It's still just Flip Town. And I decided not to back Raw for now, just because I am super tight on money and I just keep on spending money. In fact, I recently just purchased something to upgrade my equipment so that I can record a playthrough, and unfortunately it arrived in a completely damaged box today, so I had to return to sender. So now I have to wait for that because I have to record a playthrough of a game before I leave for London later. So that set me back financially as well. So I finally invested in a thingy that stands on the ground and like will have that overhead camera, so that hopefully I can record some proper playthroughs so that don't look like utter crap. So we shall see. So I need that to arrive soon, since I had to send it back. But yeah, so let me just go on to games that I've received, since I'm not really backing anything. All right, so I have a few that I'm looking forward to talking about. Sorry, almost done. So let's talk about the first game, which is Paint the Roses. So this is one of my Kickstarters that I had backed. So Paint the Roses is designed by Ben Goldman with art by Jackie Davis, and it's published by North Star Games. And I just received this like, I don't know, like a week ago, something like that. I can't remember exactly when, but it is beautiful and the components are really, really nice. So the inside of the box, so this is the deluxe edition. So it comes with this, and it comes with these like acrylic tiles, which are, I think they're acrylic. I don't know, plastic acrylic. I don't know what the difference is. So those are really nice. And then it comes with these like hearts thingies, which are really cool. And then just little tiny, a couple little miniatures. So that is that. The only thing I didn't like, and I know I was one of the people who complained about it on the comment section, was that the back of these just have North Star written on them. So I hope when you're playing the game, you don't have to view the back at any point. Like I hope that they're never going to be turned upside down when you're actually playing, because I think that would just take away from like the immersion of the game. Like I don't want to be like, you know, playing a game about Alice in Wonderland and seeing North Star all over a board. So I really hope that those tiles are not ever put upside down on this board, but you know, again, I haven't played it yet, so I don't know. And then it has this like dual layered board so that the tiles can sit nicely in place, which is really nice. It's really good quality cardboard. And then we have the inside. Now, if you are a sleever like me, and I ran out of sleeves, but it's really hard for these to stay in place. Like I feel like the it's like a kind of like a stair, kind of, I don't know, like a stairwell for cards, and I kept on having a problem with them sliding all down. And I haven't sleeved these smaller cards yet because they're like some weird awkward size and I cannot find sleeves for those. And then it comes with some keys, which are pretty. So this is a deduction game, by the way, like a cooperative deduction game. So I'm assuming that I'm only ever going to want to play this as 2-player since I'm not huge on cooperative games. But these tiles are pretty. And then I don't know what this is. But yeah, that's it. And then it comes with some of these pads, which, you know, again, I haven't played, so I honestly don't know. But the artwork is really cute. Let me just show you some of the artwork. So like here is the Cheshire Cat. Oh, yeah, I love the Cheshire Cat. Let me show you. There's Caterpillar, Alice. Here's the bunny. I like the bunny. Yeah, I really love those cards. So yeah, so the artwork is really pretty. I just really, really love the artwork. I'm hoping that when I go to London, I will be able to do this Alice in Wonderland themed escape room in Belgium. So I'm hoping to go to Belgium, to Brussels for like a day or two and do an escape room there. And if I do, I will, you know, let you guys know how that is. I really love escape rooms. I've done like maybe like, I don't know, at least 10 of them now in my life. So I really like those. Oh, here's a kitten card that it came with. That is like some promo, I think. And I ran out of sleeves, so some of these still need to be sleeved. So that is Paint the Roses. I don't know what this is for. Like I said, I haven't played it yet. So, oh, does this go here? And then the next game that I will show you guys, which just came in today, is the Guild of Merchant Explorers. So this is an Alderock game that is coming out, I believe, later this month. I don't think it's that far off now, actually. So this is designed by Matthew Dunstan and Brett Gilberts. And I don't know who does the artwork, but I can find out. Probably faster on BGG, but let me just see if it's in here. Art direction is Josh Wood, but I don't know who the actual illustrator. Oh my gosh, I am so annoyed. So I was recording, you know, shooting my video, and then it stopped working all of a sudden when I was showing you guys the board game, the Guild of Merchant Explorers. So then I shot another segment of it, and again it did the same thing. So I'm just a little bit annoyed. So I'm just going to show you that game next week. So, you know, it's just annoying. So I don't know what's wrong with my phone. So anyway, I'm just going to talk a little bit about, and hope it doesn't stop recording on me yet again, about how well I've been doing in avoiding buying board games. So after last week's discussion, you guys gave a lot of great feedback as well, and people did on Twitter as well. So I actually recently canceled some pre-orders that I had. So I had pre-orders for the games Rule Benders and Carcassonne, the 20th anniversary edition. So after reading a bunch of negative reviews of oh my god, of Rule Benders on BGG, I decided to cancel my pre-order since I am tight on money, especially with all my trips coming up and stuff like that. I just really need to be saving money, and I have credit card debt that I now need to pay off because of, you know, just various expenses that have come up. So I was like, okay, every little bit helps, and I don't need every single board game that comes out, especially when it's got not so great reviews. So I actually canceled my pre-order for Rule Benders, and I also did it for Carcassonne as well. I was inspired to buy Carcassonne when someone told me that if I really liked the game Land vs. Sea, which I do by Good Games Publishing, that I would enjoy Carcassonne. So I actually was playing a game of Carcassonne online with someone on Board Game Arena, and I am so terrible at it. I have no clue what I'm doing. I just don't understand. I don't know if it's because it's on Board Game Arena and it's like, or I just don't understand the game. I'm not sure what it is, but I have a score of like 6 and my opponent has a score of like 90 something or 100 something. So yeah, so I just was like, screw this, I'm not gonna get Carcassonne. Not that I don't enjoy games, which I really suck at, because I really do, but I was just like, you know what, I don't need it, it's fine, I don't need it. Carcassonne will be around for a very long time. You know, it's the games that are like those Kickstarter editions with Kickstarter exclusives that will really get you, get you because of FOMO, fear of missing out. But Carcassonne is going to be around for a very long time. So if I decide I want it in the future, I can just get it in the future. So yeah, so I canceled those pre-orders, and I am not backing raw. So, you know, I think I'm doing better, and I hope to continue to do well in terms of controlling my board game spending. And yeah, and hopefully I'll be able to cull some games, and, you know, I think ideally I would like a collection of around 200 games maximum, maybe 300. I think that would be a good amount. Yeah, I don't think, you know, I need as many games as I have right now. So yeah. So I guess I'll talk a little bit about UKGE, since I see my camera still hasn't stopped working again this time, so that's good. So yeah, so I'm going to England, London, in not that long now. So I'm feeling a bit panicked about everything I have to do. I have a lot of videos I need to shoot before I leave, but I am going to London, and I'll be attending the UK Games Expo in Birmingham for 2 days. I'll be there for Friday and Saturday. I've decided I probably will not go on Thursday for the media event. I don't think I can anyway, or can I? Because I might actually, because I'm going to be going to Belgium, I think, for a day or two, and I can't remember if that's like exactly before then or not. But yeah, so I'll be going to UKGE for the Friday and Saturday. I don't think I'll be going on Sunday, but who knows? If I decide I want to go, I can just buy a train ticket to Birmingham. I'm going to be making day trips. I decided it was much cheaper for me and more economical for me to buy train tickets well in advance, which was way more economical. Like when I looked up hotel prices and prices of Airbnbs in Birmingham, yeah, it would have just been very pricey, and the train is only like an hour and 15 minutes from central London, so it's really not bad at all. I mean, that used to be my commute when I lived in London. I used to live in Greenwich, which is still considered like, you know, London. It's not like one of the outer boroughs, but I lived in Greenwich, like not too far from the Cutty Sark, when I lived in London for a few years. And even then, my commute into Holborn, which is where all like the law firms and stuff were located, was, you know, on a good day could be like 45 minutes, but usually it took around an hour. So an hour to get to Birmingham is not bad at all. And when I'm at UKGE, I've already reached out to Hakan Garter, the designer of Moon and Villagers and Streets, to see if I can interview him. So I am going to be creating interviews, content for this new website called the Board Game Nexus, and I'll leave a link down below. So the board game Nexus was founded by Francis and Anthony of AntLab Games, formerly known as AntLab Games, and then for a while they had changed their name to How It Plays, and now they are officially the board game Nexus. Like if you go to their YouTube channel, they have really high quality videos of board games, like playthroughs and reviews. They're a really sweet couple. Yeah, I met them at PAX Unplugged, and I've known them now for over a year, I think. They're just super sweet, super amazing couple, and I just really love their content. And so they asked me if I want to create content for their new website, and their new website is really nice. It has a totally different look than Board Game Geek. So, if you're looking for something a bit different, definitely check out the Board Game Nexus. I know that some people are concerned about them charging for people to be able to partake with to use some of the features of the website, such as leaving reviews. To that I would say the Board Game Geek does have a problem with people leaving reviews for games they haven't even played yet. So you can see that with games which people are waiting for. You'll see a bunch of people leave a bunch of 10s, and then you'll see a bunch of people come in and leave a bunch of 1s to counteract the 10s, and it just gets out of control. So I've come to find that I cannot use the Board Game Geek as a reliable, their rating system as a reliable indicator of how a game is in general, especially if it's a new release. There's times where I know I won't be able to find ratings for new releases on the Board Game Nexus anyway, but like when I go to Board Game Geek sometimes and I just want to see people's thoughts on a game that hasn't been released yet, from playtesters and people who've had a chance to play the game. Instead, I just see a bunch of 10s and 1s, and it's just annoying. But yeah, the Board Game Nexus is going to be a bit different than Board Game Geek, but it's got a totally different look. It looks very sleek. I really like the look of it. I feel like Board Game Geek, the look of it is just very cramped, and it just can, be a little bit, not pleasant on the eyes, but the Board Game Nexus has a very sleek look to it, so I really like that as well. I still use Board Game Geek, so but I would say check out the Board Game Nexus if you want. I'll leave a link below. So I had a question for you guys, which I really should have written down, because when it came to me last night in bed, I was like, oh, that's such an amazing question. And of course, knowing me, I didn't write it down, and now I cannot remember what that question was. So that really sucks. But I did see someone ask on Twitter a question recently, which I thought was a really fun question. So I'm just gonna use their question and ask that. I think it was Osprey Games, in fact, that asked it, if I remember correctly. So they asked people, if you could have any creature from a board game that you own as a pet, which creature would it be and why? And I said to them, it's a really good question, and I need a lot of time to think about it, because there are so many amazing creatures in so many different board games, and I really want to think more thoroughly about this. So I'll tell you guys my answer next week, but if you have an answer for me right now, leave it in the comments below, and maybe it'll inspire me as to which creature I would want for a pet in a world where it's okay to have anything as a pet, because if you know me, you know that I'm against keeping exotic wild animals as pets. So let's pretend that we live in a really great world where nothing bad ever happens, and all animals are perfectly taken care of and have all the resources and space and land and companions they need. So in that kind of a world, which creature from a board game would you want as a pet? Let me know. So I recently did order some equipment so that I would be able to record playthroughs properly. And of course, when I went to go pick up that equipment today, the box was completely opened, and I'm like, something could have fallen out, maybe something was broken, so I have to return to sender. And I really needed this equipment because there's a certain playthrough I need to record before I leave for London on the 26th. So that is problematic. So I hope that equipment will arrive soon, and then maybe I'll finally be able to record some playthroughs which do not look like utter garbage, like the ones I've recorded in the past. so I'm hoping that, yeah, that will take care of that problem. So I hope my equipment will arrive and that I'll be able to use it properly in my super tiny space here. It is such a cramped space, and even moving around my ring light and the tripod and stuff can just get super annoying. Like, I really wish I had a studio, but I do the best I can with what I have. So anyway, so I guess I'll stop babbling, and I'll show you guys the Guild of Merchant Explorers next time. when hopefully my camera will cooperate. And if you know of any other designers who are going to be at UKGE that you would like me to interview, maybe I can reach out to them and see if they would be up for doing an interview as well. Yeah, and if you're going to be at UKGE, keep an eye out for me on both Friday and Saturday, and it would be awesome to meet you. So until next week, guys, bye.